Honorable Men Discord, BBLs, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's talk about it. All right, fellas, let's talk about it. BBLs. Uh, as the weather continues to change and the weather starts to get a little bit nicer outside, it's the time of year where gym memberships are up because both men and women alike are trying to look their best. But in addition to that, we have some women who are looking to spend a lot of money on BBLs. And that's today's conversation is BBLs. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's first start with the good. The good in BBLs, I guess, for each individual woman is they get to feel better about the way they look. All right. I guess some of the good is if you're a female who never really got much attention, by getting a BBL, you start to gain attention. If you just felt like, your natural physique wasn't attractive, you might have felt unattractive. That particular female went out and got a BBL to feel attractive. So I guess that's the good in it. It's a personal. I think that's a personal question or a personal statement, I should say. That's a personal statement on whether or not it's a good thing to get a BBL. But I think for the most part, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, why do women get BBLs? I would assume is to feel better about themselves, to look more appealing. And the good in it is you're gonna get attention, whether it's negative attention where people are like staring at you like you look like a foreign object, or you just get more looks from guys, or maybe you get guys approaching you. You might have been the type of female who you just felt like no one was approaching you. And I don't know whether or not by getting a BBL you get more guys approaching you. I don't know how that works. I'm not a female, but I'm assuming for females who are looking for more guys to approach them, or if your profession is in the adult industry, sometimes you get BBLs because you want to up the money that you make. So if you're a dancer, you're probably seeing more money from the guys that come into the particular club. If you're in the adult industry world, I guess you make a name for yourself because you stand out depending on how large uh, your finished product looks. I'm gonna call it finished product for the sake of YouTube, but um, I guess that's the good in BBLs. The bad in BBLs is the sacrifice. First of all, the financial sacrifice you have to make, and I'm sure that when you travel overseas, it's a little bit more affordable. But overall, I think it's a very expensive procedure, which I believe it should be because of the risk that's involved. I think if you're out there and you find something that is inexpensive, you're really taking a risk because although you might be saving a few dollars, in a lot of the situations, it's best to be safer than sorry. But then even then, when you're spending that kind of money on a procedure like that, there's no guarantee that the end result is going to be one that's safe. We've heard plenty of horror stories of people who went under the knife and they lost their lives. But that would I would say that's the bad. The other bad is for some women they don't get the results that they were actually looking for. So there's a group of women who they get that surgery and they're completely satisfied with the finished product, and then there's those that when they look at themselves they're still unhappy. Now, for me, I would say that's the bad. Uh, I personally, I'll be honest, I'm a guy, so BBLs it will catch my attention. I will look. Do all BBLs do all BBLs look good? Absolutely not. But it does get my attention. I look. Some of them look phenomenal. Some of them, honestly, I can't even tell whether or not it's fake or real. Sometimes I find myself saying to myself, like, is that real? I wonder if that's real. But obviously, there's no way to tell unless you actually do. I guess you feel. I guess there's a difference in texture. But but that is that is one of the things that I would say is a bad. In addition to that, I honestly think that and I could be wrong by saying this, but I feel like sometimes women who do BBLs don't just stop there. Many times I think that just going under the knife, period, I'm not a big fan of unless it's for if it's like an emergency situation where it's a life or death or it's to correct something that may have been altered due to an accident. You know, those type of surgeries I feel like is okay. But then cosmetic surgeries, I'm not a big fan. I'm personally not a big fan of promoting cosmetic surgeries. Again, if I see a female with a BBL, absolutely I'm gonna look. Especially depending on the outfit, I'm gonna look. But if I'm in a situation, a serious situation with a female, would I ever encourage the female to go under the knife for a BBL? Absolutely not. Because one, if you care enough about the female, you're not gonna want her to go underneath the knife for her own safety. Two, um, many times it doesn't stop there. Many times it's just a gateway to something else. Or for some females, they may have done other work, cosmetic work, and the BBL is just one of many. But it's rare that you find a female who gets a BBL that hasn't done something else. And it's like they keep providing different services because the women are willing to spend the money. Now, whether or not these women actually have the money to spend on these procedures is neither here nor there. Um, because one thing that's for certain is that some women are willing to, max out their credit card for these procedures. But that's a whole nother story. So those are the bad that I think come with BBLs. Um, it's been said initially when you first get the surgery, it's uncomfortable. Obviously, it's like a 2 week discomfort that you have to deal with. As a matter of fact, I have a video queued up where this woman she speaks on that. So let me get this queued up. Let's take a listen to this.
You squat or you take you because you can't use the bathroom number 2 for like 2 weeks.
What?
Yeah, they moved certain things here, so you can't do anything for like 2 weeks. You you
Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, but that's obvious. I mean, that's surgery, period. I don't know any surgery that you come out of it and you're just good to go without having to take time off to heal. So that I would feel like that's expected from women by women. I think women would expect that after a surgery like that, they're going to have to deal with some discomfort. This next clip I just want to get into. This is Dr. Anthony, and this is credited to the Griot Politics, right? And I came across a lot of videos from Dr. Anthony. He has a lot of reels that I've seen, and he's I would say he's a contemporary style doctor. He's real animated in his videos. He makes things interesting. He's not boring when he speaks. But listen to what Dr. Anthony has to say about the dangers of a Brazilian butt lift.
See everyone. One of the most popular cosmetic procedures in the country is also the most deadly. According to the American Society for Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, the Brazilian butt lift is one of the fastest growing surgeries with an expected 61% increase over the next 5 years. But listen to this, it has a death rate of 1 in 3,000. And that might not seem like a high number, but some doctors say this is way too risky. Joining me now is Dr. Anthony Yoon. He's a holistic plastic surgeon and he's based in Troy, Michigan. Good to see you, doctor. Explain to us why this procedure is so risky.
Yeah, there was an interesting study that came out several years ago that showed that the death rate with this operation, a BBL, where you would take fat from one part of the body and inject it into the buttocks, was 1 in 3,000. And we believe it's due to fat emboli, where if you inject fat into the deep muscles of the buttocks, that fat can actually pass into veins and blood vessels. It can go to the heart and lungs, and people can die almost instantly from it. Excuse me.
Oh, that's very serious, and people don't realize that. You take a holistic approach, though. Is that different than traditional surgery?
So yeah, there's a lot of other ways that you can enhance the buttocks. Now, the first thing is that this study came out a few years ago, and there have been some changes to the techniques. And so for those people who are interested in this operation, it's the only way to really enhance the buttocks in a major fashion. But you can do it safely if the fat is injected not into those muscles, but into the subcutaneous fat of the buttocks. And that can be done if the doctor is using the right technique. And most plastic surgeons now, they know the technique well. The problem is that people who aren't plastic surgeons, doctors who are performing this operation who aren't actually real plastic surgeons, may not know this, and that could be very, very dangerous.
Absolutely. Now, doctor, why do you think this surgery is becoming so popular?
Well, I think it's just kind of the culture, the zeitgeist. The buttocks are a very popular part of the body over the last several years. I think the Kardashians had something to do with it, and a lot of the entertainers. And so this is a part of the body that is so focused on. It's all over social media, and there are doctors who are performing these operations on social media and promoting them and making it look like it's super, super easy to have done.
Yeah, it does look that way when you see it online or you see people who've done it. And then we know about people who want to save money and they go overseas. What happens when you take that risk?
So I would never say anything bad that if you go to a different country, you're not going to have a great doctor. There are a lot of great plastic surgeons in other countries. But if you're traveling from the United States to a foreign country, you're having an operation there. If the operation goes well and you head home, best case scenario, you have a good result, but you don't have a doctor who can take care of you back here in the States. Worst case scenario, you have a complication. You have to go to a hospital in that foreign country where you may not speak the language. And you can assume that your health insurance from the United States is not going to cover any complications when you're hospitalized in another country. Are you going to be stuck with that massive bill? So you have to take all of this into account when you're going overseas for surgery. And unfortunately, there is a huge trend towards people having BBL surgery overseas as a way basically to save money, but at the expense sometimes of their own lives.
So how much does it cost then to get this procedure?
The BBL surgery can range anywhere from $5,000 at a pretty inexpensive place, upwards of $15,000 or more with a top-line plastic surgeon. So the most important thing is you want to make sure if you're going to consider surgery like this to make your buttocks larger, make sure that that doctor is a real board-certified plastic surgeon who does a lot of these operations. You don't want somebody who dabbles in this operation to do this operation on you because of the potential risk of not just a minor complication, but obviously of death.
Well, how do you know if it's a good doctor? I mean, what's the right
Well, I'm going to stop it there. Host is about to ask the doctor, how do you know whether or not it's a good doctor? I mean, you'd have to just do research, and that's for the women who actually choose to do these type of procedures. But again, I mean, the doctor makes a lot of sense. For those women that actually travel into Brazil or going to Colombia for these type of surgeries, obviously they're going to have to take a decent amount of time off before returning because they're not going to be able to sit on the airline to head home. So overall, I still stand on what I said. I think there's a lot of risk in doing these type of surgeries. And again, if I'm involved with a female, I definitely would not encourage her to do any type of cosmetic surgery because to me, it's just not worth the risk of her life. Her life is greater than the outcome that she's looking for. Now, whether or not that female would listen, that's up to the female, because at the end of the day, men and women alike are going to make decisions that are not always what others agree with. But when we're talking about BBLs, I would strongly speak against it. So let's get into some clips that I have of some men and what they think about these procedures.
Fit woman shows all the qualities that we're looking for. Can you hold down? Do you have your own goals? Can you stick to a plan? Can you stick to the plan that I give you? Versus a BBL girl, it's like you take the shortcuts in life. And I just can't respect. I live a life where I intentionally make harder on myself, so my threshold for hard is higher than most people.
That's an interesting take. That's a very interesting take. And I'd like to hear your response in the comments. Women that do cosmetic surgery, are they taking the shortcut? Or are they not taking the shortcut? Now, by all means, certain body types, it doesn't matter how many squats you do, you're not going to end up with a large behind. It's just not happening. Let's be honest. So, I mean, but is it a form of a shortcut? It could be looked as a form of a shortcut, especially when we're talking about the belly fat transfers and stuff like that, or when they remove fat from the stomach, and then you see these women that have like six packs rather than going to the gym and sweating it out. But again, certain body types, no matter what work you put in, it's not going to give you a certain shape, because based on your bone structure, you can only do so much. What you're born with is what you're born with. But I don't know. Let me hear in the comments what you think about that. Is that a form of a shortcut when women do these procedures? Let's get into this next guy. Hold on.
Hey, I had something to talk about. And this is no knock to the women who's doing it. But why BBLs are being played out? They're going out. And the main reason is because everybody's looking the same. There's nothing natural than a woman with her own sense of beauty and confidence. Now, I'm not knocking the ones who went to go do it, but all y'all chicks are looking the same. So it's not keeping our attention. The only thing it is actually making y'all sex objects to men. Only thing they want to do is just sleep with you. Do they want to wife you? Do they take you seriously? And the majority of men, they don't. So it's like one person said, BBL for the night, natural for life. So women and men, what do y'all think about this BBL going out of style?
That's another take. That's another interesting take. So for the women that are getting BBLs, I understand some of you may be doing it because, again, you don't completely feel satisfied with the way you look. But what is your ultimate goal? Is it just to accentuate your body parts, or do you have a goal in mind? Are you looking to attract more men because you're tired of being single? What is your motivation for getting it? And it can't just be just one thing. It can be just one thing, but just understand that these type of procedures, you're going to have certain men reacting like that last video clip that I just showed. Some men don't necessarily care for that, and depending on how large you make it, honestly, you sort of, without saying it, you're telling men a little bit about yourself. For me, it's a tell-all sign of low self-esteem the larger you get it, because it's like, did you really need to make it that large? How much attention do you want? And another thing is, depending on how large you make it, some men are just not going to take you seriously. Like that last clip that I just showed. They're going to look at you as like a sex object. They're not going to take you seriously. They'll definitely go on dates with you and have fun with you. But unless that's what you're looking for. But as far as like taking you seriously to the point of like, oh, I can see myself with this woman long term, I can see myself marrying her, have kids with her. No. That's the amount of men that's actually going to commit to a woman that does something of that magnitude is very, very low. Because just think about it. The larger you make your behind, you're causing so much attention. What man actually wants their woman to have that much attention from other men? There's not a lot of men that want their woman getting that much amount of attention, unnecessary attention, especially on a body part of hers. It's one thing to have a beautiful wife that has an amazing shape and figure, and it's another thing to have a woman who one part of her body is extremely accentuated to the point where everybody's staring at her. What man wants to make a wife of that? Now, there's going to be some men that would, but there's not many. But let's continue. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Stop blaming us for this crap, man. I had to make this video. I've been seeing these women walk around with these BBLs that not even matching their bodies. And I don't care if it even if it's matching your body. Why would you even get something that can cause you your life? Men and women dying behind this, just to please other women, because you're not pleasing men, because we never said we want it. We never said we want it. We never said we like it. But yet y'all still blame men for getting it. Because society told you that it's okay to do whatever you want to do and just put it back on men and everything will be okay. We never told you we like that. We want real women. We want real, natural, as close as possible looking women. We had no problem 15, 20. Stop blaming us.
All right. The last part he said about we want real natural women. That's subjective. There's a lot of men who, yes, want real natural women. Let's be honest. But there's also some men who, when they see women with, larger breasts, a big butt, they go crazy for that. But again, the men that generally like that don't necessarily want to marry that woman. See, so for those women who are getting the surgery because of a man or men, just know that it's not guaranteeing. It's not going to guarantee you a spot at the altar. That's not what it does. Attention, absolutely. If the attention is what you're looking for, absolutely you're going to get attention. But what kind of attention you're going to get? I mean, it depends. It really depends. But I'm just going to put this last video on. This is a doctor speaking on like just how long does it last for this type of surgery, because a lot of money is being spent on it these days. So this is just a doctor just speaking on that.
One of the questions I get frequently is how long does a Brazilian butt lift last? So when we transfer fat from one part of the body to the other, fat slowly does die over many, many years. An average person will see an excellent result for the first 8 to 10 years, but many of the fat cells that are transferred will last for the rest of your life. So this is a 1 pound chunk of fat, and this is a 5 pound chunk of fat. And on average, an average BBL, we transfer somewhere in between there. So you can see it's a very significant amount of fat that is transferred, although some of it with a loss of elasticity and age will slowly droop or sag over time. An average result will last you a good 10 years. And if you have more questions or would like more answers to many of these questions, feel free to refer to our BBL book, The Art of the Brazilian Butt Lift.
All right, so I'm going to end it with there. I think we pretty much covered the good, the bad, the ugly. The ugly is similar to the bad, is, the people that passed away from this procedure. The ugly is also those botched procedures where the women have to go back to fix it or sometimes decrease it because the first time around was such a horrible job that there was leakage and all types of things, or there's been reports of odors from certain women. Although that doctor that I first put on there, Dr. Young, he basically spoke on the odor as somewhat being a myth. He said many a times the odor is probably just from bad hygiene, but he doesn't see anything within the procedure that would actually promote a bad odor. That's I'm speaking from Dr. Young from the beginning of the video. That's one of the things I saw from him on one of his reels. But yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly. Again, the good is if women are doing it for self-esteem purposes, that's an individual choice. Again, I don't believe that most women that go under the knife for cosmetic surgeries stop with one procedure, but I don't have the data and statistics on that. But the ugly is some of the procedures just don't look good. They just don't look good. I don't know if the women notice that or they don't care. They just want what they want for whatever dollar amount, but some of the procedures just don't look good. We have like real thin legs and all of a sudden you have a protruding behind. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But that's my opinion on that. But again, the weather's getting better, so there's going to be a rise and a surge in these surgeries regardless of this video. This is just to highlight what's being done out there in public. But the choice is yours for the females that are out there that do this or plan to do these surgeries. But just be safe and be smart about where you're going to do it. But that's my take on that. Again, as always, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode.